Hello, darlings, ghouls, bats in the night. I do apologize for not making any videos recently. It's just, life gets in the way, and, a lot of interesting things have happened since I last made a video, since the year has started. So, you know, kind of been busy a little bit. What do I have in store for you guys today? Well, it's kind of about something that, kind of recently happened, the whole banning of TikTok. And, there's a lot of mixed reviews about it. And I can understand some mixed reviews about people's opinions about TikTok. But what I want to talk about is like pros and cons TikTok has had within the Goths subculture. Because I feel like that's very important, and especially the American Goth subculture. So, yeah, this will involve talking about music too, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's kind of talk about cons really quick. The whole thing about cons of the whole TikTok is, a lot of the bad stuff, negative stuff that's impacted the goth subculture, right? And I think the biggest one is the misinformation that would spread around. Oh my god. The goth, like for example, and it's not just goth too. It's the whole a lot of pretty much everything, and I think that's with every social media aspect, but particularly strong in TikTok. You'd have people that will say, oh, this is where goth came from. They'll say it came from a wooden bench or some example like that. And, people will believe it. And anyone who would dare try to say otherwise and say, hey, no, this is a musical subculture. And, for example, they would get bullied or harassed and all that other stuff, And that is something that's very consistent within TikTok, is also bullying. And, I don't want to get all political with my channel and everything, but, unfortunately, TikTok has become pretty political. And if you hear that noise, it's my cats. They found a box. So, I think the most messed up reason about the whole TikTok ban situation, I would have been perfectly fine if they were like, yeah, we're banning it in America because of bullying or misinformation being spread. Because, that is something, that does need to be accountable, with TikTok. TikTok is very famous for, very easy access for people to bully each other and all that other stuff, to cause people to commit suicides live and stuff like that, But that wasn't really much, at least, was talked about, during the whole thing. And the whole reason why it was banned was some petty bullshit racist ass reason. And it's kind of shitty, how that worked, how that is. But aside from, bullying and misinformation spread it around, I think, it is definitely an app that a lot of people get very addicted to, But I think that's also the same with Facebook. That was the same with AOL, MySpace, any social media app or website that would just pop. People would just go all over that, But, that's just part of how social media is, and I think that was, like, very much incredibly strong with this case of TikTok, And, it can be very addicting, and, with a lot of misinformation spread around, especially about the goth subculture, people tend to not know, sometimes. And when I say misinformation, I'm saying, like, the mainstream media depicting about goth, right? I'm not talking about, like, goth creators and stuff like that. You know, there are like a lot of goth creators that are part of like in the mainstream that do nothing but misspread information, and I think that is also a con. Um, you know, or you know, you will have people that will use goth as a sexual object, like the person that talks about goth dami mommies and you know stuff like that. You know, people that like to claim they're in the goth subculture or like to claim they're you know anywhere near alternative when in reality they're literally just depicting their alternative lives all on stereotypes. And yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, you know, it wasn't only TikTok doing it. You know, it's always been the popular social media pages, right? Like it's always been, you know, these articles that would be like, oh, Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox are the new best goth couple with their best new goth friend Kim Kardashian, right? Like, and you know, gets the whole people, everybody believing that oh, these are goth people, these are alternative people, when in reality, those were the same exact people that would do nothing but harass and bully alternative people and goths, you know, and that is also a con, you know. It's unfortunate, but aside from that, I don't know about any other like terrible cons about TikTok that involve the goth subculture. What are the pros? Well, pros. I personally have gained so many friends, and you know, uh, yeah, friends basically of people within the goth subculture because of TikTok, and you know, not because, you know, I mean, I have Facebook and Instagram as well, but you know, TikTok was the one where you know, I found a lot of people that you know it takes digging and you know take some time, and I found you know people that like the same kind of music I do, like the same kind of clothes I do, same kind of makeup I do. You know, if it wasn't for TikTok, I wouldn't, you know, have had found as many friends as I have, you know, and I think that's true for a lot of goths these days, you know, especially for us goths that you know that we don't have any clubs where we are. You know, the closest club that I have would be in Missoula, which is like 70 miles away, and that only happens like twice a year maybe. And when they do happen, you know, I just don't have time to. I have to work. I don't have a car, you know. So, you know, building friendships, you know, through TikTok, you know, that was a pro, I think. And I think another pro is the music. You know, there is, you know, aside from the false music being spread around, like I was talking before, you know, I have found so many. I think TikTok has really benefited so many goth bands within our subculture. You know, if it wasn't for TikTok, you know, so many bands in general wouldn't have gotten the fame or the popularity or the recognition that they deserved. You know, I I found, you know, tons. Like I even have a playlist of, you know, 25 gothic music of, you know, new goth music from some new goth bands, and a lot of those bands I found through TikTok, you know, and you know, these are bands, you know, that haven't been around for that long of a time, and you know, if it wasn't for TikTok, you know, they would still be in their garage band phase, you know. That is something that I think TikTok does deserve credit for. You know, getting popularity, well, not popularity, bringing these bands these attention that it deserves, you know, like bands that, you know, became, you know, one of the biggest goth bands around would be, you know, Vision Video, for example. You know, they wouldn't have gotten I love that band, but you know, they wouldn't have gotten that type of fame and, you know, the views they do without TikTok. And I think that's very important to understand, you know. And, you know, I've found so many goth bands, you know, that are still doing, you know, the garage band situation and etc. And you know how rare it is for a band to be in a garage band phase for like less than a year, you know. And some of these goth bands and metal bands too, you know, they're a garage band for like less than a year. Next thing you know, with all the views and all the, you know, fan base that they grew through TikTok, you know, next thing you know, they're touring around the states. They're opening for bands that are like big name band, well, not quite big name bands quite yet, you know, but they're opening for bands that, you know, everybody else sort of knows, you know. And then next thing you know, they are opening for really big name bands like Bauhaus or The Cure. They're opening for the Sisters of Mercy. Or, you know, metal wise, they're opening for In This Moment, Evanescence, Metallica. You know, if it wasn't for TikTok, a lot of these bands wouldn't be opening for these big name bands. They would still be in their garage band phase. And it's important to understand that. And, you know, like earlier, I know Vision Video did a tour with Aurelio Voltaire. And, you know, Aurelio Voltaire, he's not like, you know, the biggest known goth musician out there, but he is pretty well known. You know, he is somebody that a lot of people look up to, and, you know, has a huge channel. He's a book author and stuff, you know. And, you know, they were just on tour with Vision Video. And I think that's pretty cool, you know. I think another pro is TikTok has helped a lot of businesses within the goth subculture, you know. You know, there's always been businesses in the goth subculture. That's, you know, as soon as it's been like kind of its thing, you know. But TikTok has really, you know, helped expanded a lot of like makeup brands that were particular to the goth subculture or the darkly inclined mind. You know, there would be clothing brands that, you know, the gothic subculture would love, or clothing brands that, you know, wouldn't have gotten any recognition if it wasn't for TikTok, you know. There would be, you know, makeup brands, clothing brands, shoe brands, you know. And I think that's something that's also important about TikTok within the goth subculture. You know, we've grown far enough in the subculture that, you know, I feel like there should be career positions for people, you know, not just musicians, you know, people who want to do taxidermy, people who want to make clothes for a living. And TikTok, you know, really did help a lot of these people out, a lot of us people out, you know. And, you know, with the help of, you know, of course, there's Etsy and, you know, eBay, Facebook Market, etc. But, you know, and their own websites and stuff. But, you know, TikTok was an app that really helped improve a lot of these businesses. And it's not just goth businesses. It's businesses all over. Small businesses in America in general. Like, you know, I think people really misjudge the point of an influencer, right? Like, 'cause, you know, there's a lot of influencers that really do abuse their power, right? But, you know, the whole point of an influencer, especially on like any media influence, you know, they're, you know, as they're traveling around the world, you know, they're showing you these really cool restaurants, they're showing you these really cool places where, you know, if they weren't found out in the beginning, you know, the only people that would go there would be, you know, the locals, and that's about it, you know. So, and I think that's also important to understand. And yeah, so I don't know. I just think that, you know, there's a lot of pros and cons, you know, with the app. But I think there's definitely a little bit more pros within, especially within the goth culture, than cons. And I think, you know, I don't. I know that it like went back up and stuff, but I don't know how long it'll be up for, and stuff. And this is why, you know, I'm trying to do more YouTube, so, you know, people can follow me on there and stuff like that, and I can make more content and stuff like that. But, you know, I think it's also important to, you know, sorry, I'm like almost out of frame because I'm playing with my fake hair. But, you know, I think it's also important, you know, if it does shut down for good in America, it's important to stay. That's my cat. um, support these brands, support these bands, these musicians, these artists, you know, where as if my cat is liking to put his tail in the camera. Sorry. As if, you know, TikTok wasn't around, you know, keep supporting them as much as you can, you know. And, you know, you don't have to buy their stuff, you know. I'm not saying you gotta do that. I'm saying, you know, basically, you know, try to follow their media, you know, follow them, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, encourage them to make YouTube channels and stuff and explore, you know, show their artwork, you know, to the world, not just TikTok, and expand it, you know. I think that's important to point out, and I hope a lot of these businesses try to do that, and bands try to do that. You know, a lot of them probably do, but you know, it is TikTok that unfortunately a lot of people do rely on. So that's my views on that. Also, if you want to know, I'm going to show you this dress that I'm speaking of brands, you know, within the goth subculture. Even though this isn't an American brand, those are my cats. I will show you this dress at the end because I love this dress and I got it for my Christmas present. But this is by the brand Moon Maiden. I will show as much as I can, but I mean, it kind of looks at first like a costume, but you know, zoomed out, it's, you know, it's really cool. I love it. I love this, and you know, in support of supporting brands. So yeah, enjoy. Look at this outfit that I'm going to show in the end, and I'm not sure exactly what kind of video I'll be posting up yet next. So yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure how well you can see it, but this is the dress for the most part. I plan on doing a photo shoot with it, but you know, look how big these sleeves are. I love this dress. It's amazing. And it, you know, it's like, if you can see like on the floor, which I don't think you can, it's like a Morticia-esque dress where like, you know, there's like little slits and stuff. So it's all spooky and delicate. So you guys have a good one. Goodbye.